All right, we're live. What's up, John?
What up? How you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. Yeah. So before we get into it, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff, guys, so that you can get all of our new videos whenever we pop one up on YouTube. We're really trying to grow this channel, so anything you can do can help. Let's hack that YouTube algorithm, right? So today we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of your advertising budget that you're already spending. So without adding more dollars, how can you get more?
Yeah. So for e-com brands especially, I think that that's usually the thing they don't do, right? Like they're like, all right, well, like we're hitting our target, so let's just scale, let's increase our budgets. And it's really easy. And I mean, it's not easy. You have to deal with like product costs and covering the invoices of product orders and stuff. But it's kind of easy in e-com because it's not like a SaaS business model or like a membership where like you make your money back right away. You know what I mean? So it's like, however long it takes for Stripe or your payment processor or whoever it is to send it to you, like that's when you get that cash back. So a lot of times when you're just hitting target, you just keep hitting target and scale. You don't think like, how could I actually like draw more profit out of my current ad dollars? I think you should do both. I like scaling. I love scaling. But yeah, let's get into it, man.
All right, man. So okay, so we talk a lot about ads and already like ad buying and stuff. So I think maybe for the most part, we'll focus a little bit more on stuff outside of ads.
All the stuff after the click.
Right. So yeah, what's happening after you click through that ad? Where do people go when they click through an ad, man? Like there's all different kinds of landing pages, right? Like what kind of landing page do you prefer the best?
So let's get into that first, is like your landing environment. So like if I'm spending money on ad dollars already, and then spending money on advertising already, I'm sending those people somewhere. For e-commerce brands, we're typically, I mean, there's all kind of, like, e-commerce brands run the gambit more than maybe anything, right? Like, everyone else is going to send them to an opt-in page or a sales page. Like, e-commerce brands is like, they could be sending them to the home page, they could be sending them to a collection page, they could be sending them to a product page, they could be sending them to like an actual custom landing page, like a sales page. They could be sending them to an opt-in page. Like e-commerce brands just run the gambit and do everything. So I think about like, okay, drawing more profit out of your current ad dollars. How can you, like, the landing environment can go a long way. So I think of this in kind of two tiers. Tier one is like just optimizing your landing environment to like convert better or drive higher AOV. So I, combine those, and that's called earnings per click. So optimize your landing environment to drive higher earnings per click, or play with like the funnel flow or the page flow of your landing environment. So if you go to homepage now, do people typically click homepage, collection page, product page? Like, could you like play with your homepage to get them homepage, product page? Could you just drive to a collection page? Could you just drive straight to a product page? So actually playing with like which page on your site you send to, and then, playing with like actually then optimizing that page once you find like the best page to send to. So, examples are like a lot of times early on with a brand, we'll test PDP versus collection versus homepage. That's like a really easy test to do. All the same ads, even if it's like a product specific ad, we'll take that product specific ad, send it to a collection page where that product is maybe the lead product in the collection, but maybe there's some bundles around that product in the collection. Maybe we can get a higher AOV by putting some bundles in that collection. And then we might even send it to the homepage, unless that's like completely irrelevant, right? Like the homepage is like some general store or whatever, and then that doesn't make sense. But for a lot of brands, like you can, like we have like wallet brands, gadget brands, baby brands. You can take that product specific ad, send them right to the homepage with it, and that might even convert better because it's like with a niche style brand like that, like people might just want to shop around. So that's a really easy one to do early on. And then the other thing that we'll do is we'll create a custom landing page that is like not in our Shopify or Magento or WordPress environment. So give you an example, we have a brand where we were driving to their homepage. That was their most profitable page, was their homepage. And then we just wanted to play with things like driving to an article, right? And that worked okay. So then we started doing like, all right, why don't we do this like advertorial article combined with their homepage? And we like sort of combine the concepts. So there's like a paragraph or so of copy that has a little bit of a content feel. and then, you know, the hero image is their homepage, and then there's like the rest of the stuff that's on their homepage, and that is just popping. Like that is like their best thing by far. So just playing with the landing, same ads, same exact ads, playing with the landing environment is driving their conversion rate up a ton, just driving their earnings per click up a ton, right? And so I think that's like thing number one is like get an Instapage account or Zipify pages if you're on Shopify, or ClickFunnels, whatever page builder you want to play with, and start sending traffic to some like custom pages that you build to try and beat, you know, first go homepage collection PDP, see what works best, and then try and beat it with like, all right, collection works best. Like, how do I think I could beat this collection? Simple, really, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, I think you hit on a couple of important things there. You know, I mean, media buying, you know, from Facebook, let's say, or anywhere really, like, I think most people just kind of run traffic straight to product pages for the most part. I mean, I see a lot of people who tend to just do that, but it's funny how just something as simple as what you're saying, like test that homepage, test collection pages. I mean, it seems obvious once you've kind of done that, and that's kind of your regular flow, but it's not obvious to everybody, you know. And some people are baffled that like the homepage would convert, you know, but it's like that's kind of like the front door to your store or your website, whatever you're selling on, you know. And it's like, you know, clicking through an ad is like knocking on the door. You don't expect to like walk right into the bedroom. Like you expect to kind of go into that like front entryway space, and that's what a nice like homepage can do for you. You know, like you said, optimizing for the sale, you know, that can be done on every page on your website, and you should do that on the homepage too. And that can a lot of times be why that's the winner, is it has this nice like welcoming feeling, but it's also optimized to create clicks to other places on the store.
Right. Yeah. So this is the thing, is that like maybe, so let's think about it like conversion rate and average order value are what make up your earnings per click. So if you're using the same ads to drive to different locations, you're going to get a relatively similar cost per click. So what we just need to do is like make more per click, right? So if we're driving to a product page, like that may convert a little bit better. It might not. It might have a little higher conversion rate because like I think the logic is always like, well, we're removing steps, right? Like we're making it easy. And
right.
I'm on board with, dude, I tell people that all the time. Like I'm on board with that. I'm not knocking that. But if you send straight to a product page, like they're most likely gonna, like you're most likely kind of like locking yourself into a smallish range of AOV, depending on what your product page is and what your product is and stuff like that. But you go to a collection page or homepage, maybe your conversion rate takes a hit, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe it actually is a nicer landing environment where they get sold on your brand a little bit more, and your conversion rate goes up. But the other thing that could happen is like, as they look at other products, they just might buy more, right? And so we see that a lot is like, we'll run this homepage collection product page test, and homepage will beat everything because it's like, it'll convert just as well because they get sold on the brand a little bit more. And because they get sold on the brand a little bit more, they'll be like a little more comfortable buying more things and having a higher order value. And then same with collection. Then like you can actually make this like augmented collection page that has those elements of selling them on the brand, and then has like your most popular products bundled so that you're driving higher AOV, you know?
Right. I think you touched on something right there. I mean, maybe just glancing over it without realizing it is the type of traffic too, right? Like cold traffic specifically, I think, you know, those are the people who are knocking on your door for the first time. That's really jarring to end up at the bedroom, you know, or it can be. Obviously test the things. If the data shows they like going right to the bedroom, okay, whatever, like sweet.
But it's not like people don't know about product pages. Like they're not uncomfortable there, you know.
Not a perfect metaphor, all right? We use lots of metaphors.
You might come into the kitchen and be like, oh, that's a little strange, but not that weird, you know?
Right, right. And then the other thing you touched on a few seconds ago, we kind of broke down kind of those three basic places to send traffic, but like custom built pages, you know, pre-sale pages, things like that, kind of built to kind of nurture the sale a little bit more, give a little bit more context maybe, or kind of present a certain angle that you want presented. And I think for a lot of people, you know, run any amount of ads, you get that you're going to probably make different ads based off of different angles, play on different things. And I don't know that it's a straight across, like just as many people think about that with the landing page. But I mean, in a perfect world, you'd have complete harmony between ad to landing page, right? Like right where the ad leaves off on an angle, it would be great if the landing page picked right up with that same angle, because that's what earned the click. I mean, stands to reason that is what's most likely to earn the click again to the next step in the funnel.
Or sometimes it's like, yeah, I mean, leave off pickup is not a bad way to put it. So I'm thinking of an example where like the main thing we highlight about the product in the ad is something that's like very cool and visual, and is like, it's like, oh, that's sick, like, you know what I mean? And so they click on it, and then the lander picks up on this like complete, like it doesn't even talk about that thing from the ad. It picks up on this like super practical thing that hits on a pain point that like literally everybody has, right? So it's like, I already saw this ad about this like cool product that just like does this super dope thing that's very visual. And then I land on this lander that's like, oh, and it's like really practical. Like, and then, yeah, it's like now you've like given them the emotion of like, that's really cool. Let me see how much it is. And then you've told them, oh, also like, think about this. It's so practical. It's going to alleviate this pain point. It's going to save you money really because of, you know, this particular pain point. And now like you've given them all the ammo, you've hit their emotions, you've hit their logic, and then you tell them the price. And it's not a low priced product, but like they've now can justify the price, and they know they want it because they saw the ad and they're like, that was cool, you know? So yeah, like just all kinds of concepts to go with, right? Like, so I mean, that one, like, I guess I can give the example, right? Like it's a wallet that has this like switchblade feature. So you hit it and like all your cards like pop out in like a tapered switchblade, which is super cool and visual in an ad. And then they go to the landing page, and the first thing we say is like, hey, you know that feeling you get when you lose your wallet? Never feel that again with this wallet. You know, you can't lose it. Here's why. So yeah, it's super cool. And then we tell them this, hey, this is a wallet that's like $100, but by then they're like, yeah, I'm sold. You know, like, you know, so like that's just an example of how you can like kind of like really, usually you can ultimately, it might take you a few tries, but if you create a custom landing page in a landing page builder, like an Instapage, Zipify, whatever, if you create, like you're talking about pre-sale pages where we're actually hitting on like some headlines, some copy, you know, some angles for selling the product, you can usually ultimately beat your homepage, your product page, your collection page, just because you can take so many more swipes at it. Like you can just keep trying until you beat it, really, you know? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I really love about using pre-sales. The other thing is you can get signals, right? So like just from like how good the click-through rate is on the pre-sale, pretty cheaply without spending very much money, you can get a really good signal on like what angle or what like, yeah, like what thing that you're saying like really hits with your audience enough for them to like still want to click through and buy the product, especially if you put the price on the pre-sale, you can do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's again, people take that data from ads. It's kind of obvious, like, oh, you have different angles in ads, and I see which ads work best. Therefore, I know what angles work best. Why wouldn't you want to do the same thing with landing pages? And if you do have something like a Zipify or any of those other landing page builders, you know, a lot of times they have special little features that can also help, you know, that aren't native to product pages or collection pages. That, you know, a timer or something for a particular sale, for a particular bundle or something like that. You know, you can add a little bit, a little extra flair maybe. And, you know, it's not something that lives in perpetuity on your website. It's kind of this built temporary page that you're trying traffic to, and you can always be tweaking, you know, without messing with the bones of your site too much.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to mess with the bones of your site. You don't have to like, and you don't have to do like crazy stuff, go install like a VWO or Google Optimize, which we'll get to a little bit later. That stuff isn't bad. It's just, you know, hard.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, cool. So speaking of which, the next thing I have here is CRO.
Right.
Yeah. So next point, you know, once you're building those custom landing pages, then we're just talking about, so like really like testing your landing environments first, right? And that is a form of conversion rate optimization. But like what people really think of as conversion rate optimization is actually optimizing the landing environment that you're going with, right? So like once you've nailed down, so like the first step of testing to me is just like playing with your landing environment. What makes sense? What kills as a landing environment? And that's always, right? Like we're perpetually trying new pages and new angles and different ideas from a page and landing environment perspective.
Sure.
But like once you found like some really good hitters on that, then you move into CRO, to conversion rate optimization, and you optimize the elements within that. So this could be like as simple as just like playing with button colors, playing with where elements are on the page, playing with headlines or images, changing copy up a little bit, like even if you're not changing the whole angle, like just changing some of the words or the layout or something. Right. So just like really optimizing, drilling in and optimizing that. So you can start with just split testing, which is pretty easy to do in most landing page builders. They'll let you create like an A and B version and they'll split the traffic for you. And then if you want to get more advanced, you can do, and this, you need a lot of traffic for this, you can do multivariant testing. So you need a tool for that. A Visual Website Optimizer, Google Optimize are good ones. Google Optimize is free, though it's maybe a little harder to use than Visual Website Optimizer. Visual Website Optimizer is expensive. But then you're playing, like you can play with multiple elements at a time, you know, and even figure out the best combinations of elements.
Right. And for anybody who's like built multiple landing pages before, you know, the stuff like different copy angles, you know, maybe a different font size, different colored buttons, things like that you're talking about, you know, that stuff's fairly common, I think. You know, one thing that I'm a big fan of is trying to get that call to action as high up on the landing page as possible within reason. You know, you don't want add to cart button as the very first thing that people hit, but you know, right, with how much traffic today comes on mobile devices, you know, particularly on a mobile, I think having a call to action high up makes a lot of sense. And from agency life, from doing agency work and stuff, a lot of times we're kind of conflicted with, you know, being the agency buyer. We're kind of subject to a little bit of what the brand wants to do as well. You know, a lot of times there's this marriage between like branding and effectiveness. You know, sometimes they don't care just about sales. They're like, yeah, what good is a sale if people aren't aware of like the broader brand message? You know, I mean, sometimes where we consider it ridiculous, but you know, there's always and that's something you can test.
Yeah. Well, and playing with where it is. So like sometimes it actually works better. Like this is the general conventional wisdom, and what works best most of the time is moving the call to action up higher. But sometimes like we find like, oh no, actually like forcing them to scroll through this content before they hit the call to action works better. You know what I mean? So like that is like a really good element to multivariant test. Yeah, you can totally multivariant test that with copy angles, which is when you said too, like at the angle level, I usually A/B, like that's usually something I go through in split testing. So I test first landing environment. Once I find a good landing environment, then I'll go through some split testing things around like the copy angle, right? Or like the big thing that I'm like, oh, I don't want this interspersed with other element tests. Like I want to like just test this versus this, right? And then once I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm rolling with, this is really good. Now I just want to squeeze this rag more, like I want to squeeze more juice out of this thing. Then I'm playing with button colors, I'm playing with button placements, I'm playing with what image is where, or you know, changing images out, playing with, you know, stuff like that.
Totally. Yeah, I think you make a good point on sometimes that call to action going deeper. I mean, especially on like a higher ticket product. A lot of times people need the education on the product before they're convinced they're going to spend multiple hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, and you almost have you can't let them just click through. Like you have to force them, even if they're going to skim, right? Like you have to force them to at least skim.
Right. And I mean, other things, you know, completely changing stuff out, you know, text versus like a video sales page, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one.
Real estate wise, you know, a video probably does more than anything else possibly could as far as information per square inch. Right. But that's not always the best thing. You know, you also have to have attention for somebody to watch a full video. So.
Yeah, people can just skip. Again, like if you need them to consume the content before they buy, they can easily just click that add to cart button, you know, without watching that video, right? Unless you like create a timer, you know, or something like that, which you see in some like, you know, video sales letters create timers where they can't click the add to cart button until they get to a certain point, but that's hard. Like I don't ever do that.
Yeah, and I mean, it just shows the importance of testing. If everything was always the best idea, regardless of circumstance, you would always see everything done the exact same way, and that's not what we see.
Right, and just to be clear, by the time you get to this step of testing like elements within the page, like you've already got something that's pretty successful. So that's what we're talking about here, is that it's like, it would be very easy for you to be like, oh, I tested collection versus product versus home, and I found out collection does best. Like I'm gonna, and now my ROAS is higher, like yay. And if you do nothing else but that, then just do that, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that like, we've seen like massive gains by going through this process of saying like, all right, now right now we run ads to wherever we run them to. Let's say right now it is the home page, right? let's test home versus collection versus product. Oh, guess what? Like our EPCs went from $1.50 to $1.60 by going to the product page. Awesome. Now let's test, like, now let's go build some product pages that we think could beat this product page. Oh, our EPCs went from $1.60 to $2. Now by split testing some things, VSL versus copy, stuff like that, we went from $2 to $2.20. And then by doing like multivariant testing, we went from $2.20 to $2.50. Like we're up $1 EPC. Like that is a big amount. You know what I mean? Now think about how much more scale. Now your clicks that cost $1, instead of being at a 1.5 ROAS, they're at a 2.5 ROAS. So if your scaling target is 1.5, like now you can scale so much harder, you know?
Right. So we've talked quite a bit now about optimizing for conversion rate. The other piece that people should be considering is average order value, right? Like if you're getting conversions at a certain rate, you know, you also want to get the most out of each conversion as possible. So optimizing that average order value. I think we talked a little bit about it, you know, running to specific pages, maybe that are for a certain bundle of products rather than just a one-off product, you know, things like that. That's a pretty obvious thing, you know, pitch a larger product. What else in your mind stands out that can help optimize AOV?
Right. So yeah, so that's a good one, is, you know, taking your winning products and yeah, a lot of times just winning ads, you're winning products, and then like instead of just send them to the regular product page or wherever you send them now, try sending them to that product page in like a bundle. You know what I mean? Like, or try sending them to that collection and put bundles with that product in the collection and see what you get. So that's one. Another one is like just like being smart about like incentives you're offering on your site. So yeah, in case you can speak to this more because you do this a ton on our sites, but like using a tool like an ultimate special offers to like create like an incentive for them to keep going, if that makes sense. So like, you know, they get to $50 and maybe they get free shipping, but once they're at $50, they went over a little bit, they're at $54 in their cart, and you know, they can see, oh, actually if I get to $65, not only do I get free shipping, I get 20% off. And they get to $65, now they're at, you know, 67, and then they see, oh, I guess at like $80, only $13 more, I get 20% off and free shipping and a free gift, you know, and so then they go up to $80. And yes, you're adding more, like you're taking some margin by adding those discounts and adding those gifts, but a lot of times like the margin you're taking is pretty small when you consider like how much volume, like yes, maybe you're cutting a margin from whatever it is, 70% down to 62%, but your volume of profit went up from, you know, at 70% of $50, whatever it is, I can't do that math right now, $35, to let's say 60% of $80, now we're at like $48. Your volume of profit like went up a lot, which means that you can, again, pay more to acquire a customer, you can be more profitable, right?
Yeah, no, and you know, I think one asterisk I put on this stuff is a lot of times this isn't the best like evergreen kind of thing to have on your site. You know, I think it typically works better for like a promotional type of event, you know, just broadly speaking. But you know, that's not always the circumstance either. It's impossible to give one size fits all advice on things like this. You know, when it comes to offer crafting, like you were saying, you know, certain thresholds to get certain bonuses or discounts or, you know, free gifts, things like that. You know, I mean, in general, those are all good tactics to use, but we can't tell, you know, 10,000 different store owners exactly how you should do it.
Here's an idea. If it works for you, use it. So a very simplified version of this is that you can just offer an incentivization for a higher, like as an evergreen offer. Like we have one brand that a lot of people would come there and maybe just buy one thing or something like that, but they have an offer that's buy two, get one 50% off, which is kind of cool because it's like, then somebody might just buy one thing, but now they're like, oh, but if I buy two, like I only have to buy one more to get one 50% off. And then they're still buying that third one. It's not buy two, get one free. Like they're still buying that third one at 50% off. So yeah, I mean, that's raised their average order value by like over double really. So yeah, like just simple incentivizations is one way to raise average order value.
And one piece of that, I guess, that we can say more largely across multiple or many brands is, you know, if you do make a threshold of, let's say, $50 for free shipping, and at $75, people get 15% off on top of that. You know, one thing you can sort of count on is most people are going to land right at $75. You know, I think in offer crafting, you should probably, you know, protect yourself and allow for that. If they did, you're still not losing, you know, money on that order. But typically they're going to end up, you know, 80, 81, 82, 83 dollars more, because it's not like they're looking for a product that's perfectly going to land them on $75. They're usually looking for that next product that they were going to pass on. But now, since they'll get 15% off, I might as well throw that one in too. The odds of that being some, you know, $5 item if they're at $70 organically, you know, it's fairly small probably. They're probably looking at some other item that's
you can be strategic about your product's pricing too, to like make sure they count. But yeah, like when, you know, you don't have to, right? Like it's a low likelihood they're gonna
like. Right. I mean, if you have if the lowest value on your store is a $20 item, you know, you could be pretty strategic then too, and knowing that like, hey, if I make these thresholds $25 apart, they're going to have to add 2 more items likely to hit that threshold. I mean, you can play with it. I mean, it's another thing. Hey, testing wins the day usually, right? If you think about
it. Yeah. So another thing for AOV optimization is just let's talk about in-cart AOV optimization a little bit. So offering similar, so somewhere in the cart process, you see this on Amazon. People who like this also like this, right? Just offering them complementary products, other popular products in the cart process that they can just like easily add to their order. That's a good one. There's several apps that do that on Shopify, none that I can personally endorse because we, you know, have brands that use different ones, and there are a few that work great. And then another one is just like very simple, but like offering somewhere in your checkout process, like a checkbox for like expedited processing. So you're not giving them, so you can give them different, so on top of that, also like express shipping and stuff like that. Let them pay for that if they want it, but then you're going to turn around and pay that cost. So that's not really helping you a ton. But expedited processing is a cool one. So you can just have a checkbox that says like, I would like expedited processing for an additional $4.99 or an additional $9.99. Play with the price on that. But we find the take rate on that is like really high. Like a lot of people will say that, and you can just say expedited processing means you skip to the front of the line. Like we fulfill your order first. And we do that with all the expedited processing orders. Like we're gonna fulfill those before we fulfill anything else. You don't have to explain that all right there. You can have a link that explains it, or you can just say, I would like to skip to the front of the line and get expedited processing for an additional $4.99, $7.99. If you have a function in your cart where they can just check a box for that, that is like, take rate on that is excellent. And it's just like a nice little booster. You can't charge too much for it. You know, people won't take too much, but something under $10 typically seems to work pretty well.
But if your margins are tight, you know, and you don't have a lot of wiggle room for your product prices for promotions, that's a great tactic to deploy to try to raise that AOV. You know, another thing that comes to mind.
It's pure profit. You don't have any cost on that extra, you know.
Right. Another thing that comes to mind, and it's not like a one-for-one example with that, but we've had clients where they also have a kind of like a giveaway model, you know, like every X amount of dollars spent on this store earns you an entry to win something. And, you know, the greater the grand prize, obviously, the more incentive they have to keep buying off of your store. I mean, that increases conversion rate too, right? Conversion rate, AOV, everything, repeat customer. I mean, if you can work something like that out, that's fantastic. The one caveat with that is I'm pretty sure there's we've never, as far as I've never at least set that up organically on a site for a specific brand. And I do think there's some legal activity that's involved.
Oh yeah. Don't just go do that. You know, we're not lawyers. We're not just giving you legal advice, unprecedented legal advice here. But sorry, I got some weird stuff going on with my light on my end.
It's all right, man. We all got some weird stuff going on with lights, right? We're just dealing with lights, so.
But yeah, like, no, that's a good one. So like, and that kind of falls in line with incentivization, but yeah, every $5 you spend gets you an entry, and every $1 you spend gets you an entry, however you want to do that. You know, we're not telling you to do that without going through a legal process or checking into the laws around giveaways.
Absolutely. Some people are super go-getters and they can track it all down themselves, but that seems more like the exception than the rule, I think.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and there are like companies out there that help specifically with that kind of promotion, and so you can Google that.
100%, yeah. So I mean,
so now let's talk about post-purchase AOV optimization. So this is kind of sticky. Like we actually have a lot of brands that don't do post-purchase upsells, and they do just fine without them. And I get it, right? Because like a post-purchase upsell is usually it's like a one-click upsell. And it's very effective, right? So after they check out, they're just going to get a thing like, hey, do you want to add this to your order for 50% off or whatever? And if they click yes, like boom, done, charged, it's added to their order. They don't have to put their credit card in. It's very effective for increasing AOV, especially if you've got like good complementary products to post-purchase upsell them, or just like you have good, like whatever they purchase gives you a really good idea of like what they like, so you have other things to offer them. So post-purchase upsells, in my opinion, like it's probably like, it's like a EPO for average order values, right? Like it's like steroids or whatever you want to call it, testosterone, steroids for average order values. Like it will bump them quite a bit, and it will do it really fast as soon as you implement them. That said, like, yeah, there are going to be some people who accidentally click it, like they don't really get it. They click yes and they didn't mean to. They have a bad experience with the brand. You have customer support issues, all these things. So, you know, you got to make the decision for your brand. We have a lot of brands that just don't do it. They just don't play with it. You also have to consider the tool. So we can recommend, I think we can recommend some tools here. But, you know, all of these tools, just be warned, I will recommend some tools. All of these tools have their issues, right? So, you know, you don't come get mad at me if you've got an issue with your checkout, because that's what they have to do. They have to take over your checkout in order to do this. So Zipify, one-click upsell is one. That's a good tool. Cart Hook is another one that's a good tool. So that's Cart Hook. And then ClickFunnels if you're building funnels off of Shopify. And so just to be clear also, I think Zipify is Shopify native. Cart Hook you might be able to plug in anywhere. And then Samcart is one I can't vouch for, but I know also exists. Yeah, and then if you're on Shopify specifically, Shopify Plus has some of those natively. So it actually doesn't take over the checkout. It's integrated with a Shopify checkout, which is nice. But Shopify Plus is, yeah, you gotta be a serious player to be on Plus. So.
Right, and I mean, if you're on the verge and you are thinking, you know, to one-click upsell or not to one-click upsell, it kind of reminds me of that same thing. You know, being on the agency side of marketing work, a lot of times we're like, why would you not? It's just higher AOVs, more products are selling, you know, higher revenue. It just makes more sense, you know. But those people who are kind of managing brand image a little bit more, I mean, they take customer service concerns very seriously, you know, and that's understandable completely. A lot of times, you know, we are marketers and we think marketing first a lot of the time, but you do have to weigh the options. And I think, again, you know, full circle back to, it doesn't hurt to test it. So, I mean, and then judge for yourself. You know, it's not like everybody's mad about it. Geez, like, let's not make it out to be a bad thing. It's great when you add on to somebody's order something else that they actually want, you know. So you just have to weigh the small amount of people who probably were like, I did that on accident, or even just like, hey, I didn't appreciate having this pop-up jump or whatever it is, you know. With like, how much do I like?
Also go like change the language on your post purchase pages to like be more clear that they're like buying something else, telling them the price, all of these things. You can do this without even telling them the price, honestly. Like you can put on the page, you want to add this to your order for 70% off, and then it could be like not 70% off at all, right? Well, so like you can be super sketchy about this, or you can be not sketchy about it. Like we don't recommend. I'm not judging either way, honestly, but
I might judge a little. I would recommend letting people know. But I think this is important, and it kind of adds some context to when you said each tool kind of has their own little nuance, little problems, or just things to get used to. Yeah, you learn your tool, learn what kind of issues tend to come up, and be ready to proactively battle them with some language, things like that, maybe a nice banner that pops up, anything that can help you deal with that customer service kind of things that can pop up. Because even if you're not the one handling it, you know, you're going to get maybe a nice little Christmas card come Christmas time when that customer service person's like, man, I really appreciate this not being just a complete mess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, right. A complete Casey Fernstrom, as I always say.
Yeah, man, that's it.
No, so okay, cool. Moving on from AOV optimization. So we're going to move into attribution cleanup here. This is a little nerdy, and I'll try not to spend too much time here. All right. But so this is, we've been talking like post-click stuff. So we're going to come a little bit back to click, right? And say, let's look at attribution. So I'm being a little confusing here, but like all of your ad dollars are most likely spent, probably not all in one place. Or or maybe let's just say you're probably not getting all of your traffic from one place, right? Like even if you are spending the lion's share of your ad dollars on Facebook or all of your ad dollars on Facebook or Google or wherever, you probably also have email, you probably also have SMS. So all of your traffic isn't coming from one place. And if you are spending all of your dollars on anywhere, you also have some branded organic search that's coming through. Like people are searching for your brand. So yeah, not all of your traffic is coming from one place. So all of the traffic channels out there have attribution windows that favor the traffic channel. An attribution window is the time period which they will take credit for the sale. So most of them have attribution windows between 28 days and 38 days of clicking and 1 day of viewing an ad. Meaning if somebody sees an ad on Facebook and then buys within 1 day, Facebook will take credit for that sale. So that's a big issue for maybe people on your email list. See an ad on Facebook, just that same day they just happen to get an email and click through and purchase, and they would have done that anyway. Or like branded search, for example, always looks incredibly good, but like people aren't typing your brand into search unless they know about your brand from somewhere, right? Like branded search gets a lot of last click attribution. So this is what I mean by cleaning up your attribution is just look at your different traffic channels and look at what it looks like on different attribution models. So on Facebook, your now default is 7-day click, 1-day view. Change it up. Look at what does it look like on 7-day click, 0 view? What does it look like on 1-day click, 0 view? Same with Google. Change it up. See what it looks like on the different attributions, Snapchat, and then email. Even play with your email tool and your SMS tool and see what they look like on different attribution windows. Doing this will just like give you a good idea of like what is getting a lot of like first touches, right? Like what's driving a lot of people into the top of the ecosystem, and then what's getting a lot of last touches and closing a lot of sales. And it will just, it'll help you probably allocate budget more efficiently. So this is what I mean when I say like, this will probably help you get more out of your current ad dollars is you'll probably just be able to allocate budget more efficiently by doing this. You can also look at different attribution models in your Google Analytics if you have a good Google Analytics setup. So you can look at first click attribution and last click attribution, meaning what channels are driving a lot of revenue on like the first time somebody clicks, right? Even if they buy later, like 10 days later or something like that, they first clicked here. That's what first click attribution means. Last click is like the last click before the purchase. And then there's like different models and stuff like that. But you can just start with those two because they're easy to understand. And that will probably help you gain, you know, whatever, 10%, 15% efficiency in the way you're managing your budget. And yeah, like that just gets you more dollars for your dollars that you're spending.
Yeah, I mean, that is the ultimate goal, right? Is to get more profit per ad dollar you're spending. I mean, it's no surprise to anybody that the platforms are going to be self-serving and try to show you the best possible image they can within reason, that they deserve this amount of, right, that they were attributed with this much of your revenue. But, you know, they aren't always going to be perfectly accurate. And yeah, playing with that stuff, I mean, it can give you a little bit better, but we're not playing the game of how high can I make my ROAS look on Facebook, right? We're playing the game of, on the back end, the true end of my store, how much money can I make? So aligning that the most accurately you can with reality of what's happening from your Facebook ads or Snapchat or whatever traffic source, you know, that's going to behoove you when making decisions on how to optimize and move forward, you know, because I mean, you can go and play with your settings and make it look like you got a 28, 0.5 ROAS, but that's not making any more money by doing that.
Like I love the Guru screenshots because I'm like, hey man, I got stores that could put your Guru screenshots to shame, not because it's actually crushing, but because I could just change the attribution model to be very generous to me and it would look like 100x ROAS on 200,000 in spend because it's just a big store, a big brand, right? Like not because I'm doing anything amazing, you know?
Yeah, that gives me the dirty trick for a thumbnail on this, like get 1,000, ROAS on your ads. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We won't do that to our viewers.
Yeah, I know. It's just, so that's a good one. We don't have to hit on it more. If you're confused by it, like, don't worry, just do the other stuff. But like, just go, like, maybe Google, like, whatever traffic source you're on, how to change attribution window in traffic source. And then, like, go do that. And, like, you'll get what I mean. You're like, oh, that's interesting, and it might just help you get a little more efficient. That's all.
Totally. All right, we're ready to move on now? Is that good? Put a pin on that.
Okay, we're going to move on to Casey's area of expertise now.
All right, yeah, I get excited. So it's adding retention channels. So things like email, SMS, Messenger, push notifications, app, things like that. Yeah, I like to think of it all as like a spider web. Okay, well, first of all, your customers are not insects you're trying to eat or anything like that, but it is kind of a nice visual that it's like a spider web. And once people are in there, they're in your web and they're going to hang out in there, and they're going to enjoy the things that happen in your spider web rather than getting eaten. Yeah, I mean, email in particular, I can't off the top of my head think of a business that can't benefit from just having email, capability and collecting emails. It's just generally speaking, it's a smart move. The rest of them are more or less optional, but I'd say something like SMS is, it's becoming more and more mainstream in marketing these days, and the results speak for themselves in e-commerce.
Yeah. There was a time where SMS was like only for super shady affiliates, but like, no, it's people are not like, it's not weird for people to get SMS from legitimate e-com brands now. So don't worry about being like, that's maybe a worry that some brand owners have. Like, I don't really like getting SMS marketing. Like, I don't really care what you like. Like, I really care, what your customers like and how they want to be communicated with. So, yeah, you can make the decision for your brand, sure, but like, people don't feel weird about getting SMS from e-com brands these days.
Right. So the most broad one, like I said, email probably can help just about it.
Email. Nobody opens their email thinking they're not going to have promotions in there now. Like, this is 2021. Everyone's got promotions in their email.
Which is helpful to you as an email marketer, because that's where people are comfortable going from click to sale. They're expected to be sold there, and they went to their email kind of on purpose, right? Like, so the reason they're ready to buy something.
The most likely you're in the promotions tab of Gmail, right? Like, if they clicked over to the promotions tab, man, like, what did they expect? Or like, this is what I always say, like, look, everybody knows if they open an email from an e-commerce brand, like, there's something for sale in there. So like, you can rest assured, like, all those opens you're getting, like, they want you to be in their inbox.
Right.
Like,
interrupt your
traffic. Want to be sold. If they don't buy something from you, it's kind of like you just didn't really sell them enough.
Right. Interrupt your traffic is great. Scroll stopping on Facebook or whatever, that's great. But they weren't thinking about your product. In email, they see your brand name and they're clicking on. They are definitely thinking about your products. And yeah, it's just a good tool for you to reach out to your owned audience, to your customers, to your prospects, all those people, and just kind of give them regular messages. It's cheap too. It's one of the cheapest mediums for you to reach your audience, which is great, which makes it easy to have a positive ROI. I think maybe one of the downsides that some people see to email marketing is that it's a limited pool, right? For all intents and purposes, Facebook has an infinite audience that you pretty much will never exhaust, unless you're in like a very specific niche maybe or something like that. But your email list is incredibly finite. You have 10,000 contacts, you can email 10,000 people tops. And one of the things, without going too deep into it, you might want to check back to one of our earlier videos. I did a 2020 like holiday email tactics video, which really, it's great for the holidays, but really it's kind of good in general. They're good, healthy email tactics to kind of always be doing it in your account. And like I say in that video, if you're always doing those things, you're really well primed and prepared for a blow up on a big sale or when Black Friday rolls along. You really want to be doing things in a healthy way in email, because doing things in an unhealthy way, sending people emails they don't want to be receiving, is the most surefire way to lose sales from email that you should be getting.
Continuing to email people who never engage with you, who never open your emails, is the best way to like not get in people's inboxes who actually want to see your emails.
Right. I think that's probably the number one lesson with like every new brand I feel like I work with, as an agency marketer. It's like I have to keep explaining this because it is so counterintuitive that less is more, probably more often than more is more in email marketing these days. If you have, let's say you do have that 10,000 person list, I guarantee you, no matter what your business is or what vertical you're in, you are making a mistake if you're always sending every single email to 10,000 people. There is no way that's doing you any justice as an email or as an e-commerce brand. I tend to find that a lot of times it's half or fewer of your total subscribers is who you want to send or who you want to send your emails to. But it's exactly what you said. It's no one size fits all stuff. You want to make sure that they're opening. At a certain point, you want to make sure they're clicking. You can even kind of dictate these things, right? I mean, if you have we love Klaviyo. Klaviyo is my favorite email marketing software, and you can create segments in Klaviyo so to carve out nice, juicy audiences for yourself when you're sending something like campaigns. And if I want to make sure that people are opening my emails, and I want to make sure that I'm getting at least a 10% open rate, which is, I mean, you need to be getting a 10% open rate on your campaigns. You can literally put in, if somebody has received 10 emails in their whole history with our brand, they haven't opened one. Well, guess what? They've had plenty of opportunity, and they have proven they will not open up at 10% open rate. Those people are dead to you. You can burn them off your list. You can get rid of them forever. You can just put them in a bucket that you're never going to send to again, because you don't want to be sending to those people. They're only going to hurt you. Sending to those people is what signals to Google, Yahoo, Hotmail, AOL, all those email service providers that you're sending emails that people are going to mark as spam, and they're going to naturally send you to spam folders, put you in promotions. You said already once, people who see your emails, they're clicking to the promotions. If you do things right, you can land in people's inbox. I mean, that's something that seems like a blast from the past, from 10 years ago now. Like, that was what happened. Now, you're sending marketing emails, you land in promotions folder. I'd rather be in the inbox first. So yeah. I'll slow down before I get too crazy.
Yeah, it's not a show on email, which Casey will. We could do a whole one, man. We could do a whole one. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of look, most e-commerce brands, you're probably doing email at some level already. But I will say that I almost guarantee you could step up your email game with a lot of the stuff that Casey just said, literally, or just going in and regularly optimizing your flows. Run a subject line split test in your in your abandoned cart emails. 80% of brands don't do this, and they could get more dollars right away from the traffic they're sending, right? That's going out within 3 hours, 4 hours of when someone clicked and abandoned their cart, or sooner sometimes. Change the subject line up a little bit, split test it, and you get 10% more revenue from it or something like that. So some easy wins by optimizing your email, by doing something like adding SMS, really easy wins on getting more from your ad dollars. Let's hit really quick on some other retention channels that I want to talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
If you have more questions about email, go ahead and drop a comment in. I will go in and answer that, or just as good, go back and check out that video I mentioned. It's 2020 holiday email tactics, email, whatever it is.
Click on our channel, check it out. Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, other channels.
Yeah, so a couple retention channels I want to hit on really quick, get your thoughts on, Casey. Let's not do push, let's do apps. So having an app for your store will be one. Messenger, Messenger, a lot of people are hot on. Facebook Messenger, a lot of people are super hot on it. It's the new email. Look at the crazy open rates here. And then Facebook groups. So let's just hit on those three for the time being.
Sure. I mean,
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on these? Should people add these? Should they not? Should we just be hey, email is not, you just said email isn't dead, but we should have Messenger instead of SMS, or we should be all in on Messenger. Some people are saying we should be all in on Messenger. Are any of these things that you are very, very bullish on right now, or very, very bearish on right now, and why?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, in a perfect world with infinite time and resource and everything, have everything. Why wouldn't you? It's just
right. Yeah, add more to the web for sure. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Bigger, larger, stickier web, always better. Multiple webs.
Right.
But not everybody has infinite time and resources. So I think what's important is a priority list of these things. Doing them in the right order. Like we said, email, step one, always, pretty much for everybody. Do it. Okay, done.
And also prioritize getting better at it.
Of course, yeah. Okay. Step two. I mean, I could see there being some variance here, but typically in e-commerce, step two is SMS, at least by our strategies typically. And part of the reason why is because it's so easy to, for me personally, it's easy to kind of take that knowledge from email and bring it right to SMS. A lot of the newer, PostScript, what is Attentive, is that the one?
Yeah, via customers. There's so many popping up now. Via customers.
Right, lots of different tools you can use for SMS. But a lot of them are rolling out features that are really similar to what I was describing in Klaviyo. I say Klaviyo.
E-com people are wait, hold on, where's all my segmenting? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, you can make these segments, and especially in SMS, it's important because you're paying. I mean, if you know of another model for this, let me know in the comments because I'd love to know about an SMS tool that doesn't charge you per message. But that's the way that it works, is they're going to charge you. So it's even more important that you're only sending SMS to people who want it. You know, because why would you pay money to send a message to somebody who's not going to convert? Doesn't make any sense. Carving out that audience again. More is not always more. Sometimes less is more. It's about quality over quantity and developing a good reputation and relationship really with your customers. So
yeah,
that SMS, you know, definitely go to that. I think that's a strong number 2. I would personally say Messenger, push notifications, apps. Those are kind of past another barrier. Typically, you know, I think you need to kind of establish your other 2 first before you see a whole lot of benefit for the other ones. Maybe Messenger, if it's kind of built into your business. Personally, you know, they've changed the rules a bunch of times with Facebook Messenger. So I know personally with a lot of brands we worked on, as soon as we were picking up a lot of steam on Messenger, there were new rules kind of rolled out where it made it a little bit harder. And then they've kind of repealed some of those rules or edited them. Basically, Messenger is just, it's a reminder that you don't technically own that audience. Facebook does. You know, you don't own an email address. You don't own a phone number. You own a connection on a platform with somebody. So it's not truly owned, and Facebook's always going to have more control really than you do in that relationship.
Right. So don't overhedge on it. Don't, like, this is when people say I'm all in on Messenger. I'm like, dangerous. You know, like I'd definitely be moving those people across your web at least, right?
Dancing with the devil there a little bit.
Yeah, be getting those people to subscribe to your SMS list and email list at least, you know. If you're going Messenger first at all. And the other thing is, yeah, like stay up on the Messenger rules, because yeah, you can just straight up get banned. And if you've built like a hefty portion of traffic coming from Messenger, that's a real bummer.
I mean, I think
that's how we know, you know,
can impact your Facebook ad traffic too. If you're running Facebook ad traffic, you know, if your page gets shut down, I don't know the exact formula of things to consider, but I know that's not good, you know.
Yeah. So I will say that one that I said that I'm pretty bullish on. Yeah, push notifications, apps. There's some barrier there, right? Like you gotta figure out how to set that up, right? And that's fine. They're solid. Like I actually think, you know, one of the brands that we talked about earlier that does the giveaway thing, like they're crushing it with their app now, because you know, it's just another place to put a push notification in front of someone on their phone. But yeah, like they had to go through some setup pains.
I think that's just a one-off there. That's an important comparison, because just like the giveaway thing, there are people who specialize in helping you set this up. And I mean, hey, it's probably smart to utilize those kinds of services where people who know exactly how to create an app and how to make it work well. And if you have the resource to, why not?
Yeah. There are some tools that will turn your Shopify store into an app. It definitely has limited features as an app, so I won't necessarily like endorse any of them, but because I haven't like had experience with them. But yeah, we work with stores that use them and like them.
They haven't paid us to run ads for them, so
right, yeah, like they didn't get a sponsorship on.
But if you want to, I mean,
I made Casey take off his 49ers shirt because they didn't sponsor our podcast. So like, why am I gonna endorse them?
They get a free plug every once in a while on this channel.
Yeah. So yeah, the one I will say that I am pretty bullish on, again, not a super owned audience, but a great way to build a community, is Facebook groups. So we've seen a lot of power in Facebook groups. It's still like algorithmically, Facebook is still like pushing organic posts and groups and stuff. So it makes sense if there is a community around your brand. If there's not a community around your brand, or it's just like something, yeah, if you don't have someone to actually run and manage and build and be passionate about that community, then like don't do it, right? Like I think a bad Facebook group that's like clearly there to just sell more stuff is like kind of sub-zero. That's worse, you know?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good like warning for people. But yeah, I mean, I think a Facebook group is what you make it typically. You know, if you have good response times, if you actually care about the group, I mean, it needs to be able to be something that could stand alone, basically. You know,
right. But people will, and good ones will, like people will start like telling other people about your products and how to use your products and stuff. Like we've seen some nuts stuff in Facebook groups, man. Like drives tons of sales, but I mean, it has to be legit.
A lot of people, I mean, I don't know the demographic of people who watch these videos exactly, but if you're an agency marketer, you're not likely to be reactive to some brand's Facebook group, or
Recommend
even if you're a brand owner, you're probably a busy person. You might not have time for that either. But what's great is there are people who use social media like pros, and they are great for this kind of thing. Just to be reactive, they're like, oh, hey, we got a notification. They just enjoy the chat. That's the perfect kind of person to help you build that group that could stand alone without monetization.
And it may like someone like that, and who's like really part of your natural demographic. You know what I mean? Like part of like they get the people who you're selling to. They're like, yeah, they're like kind of my people.
That's it, right?
Yeah. So let's move on from retention channels. So 2 more things we got to improve your profit from your current ad dollars, improve your earnings per click. Checkout optimization. So not a ton to say here. All I'll say is like, don't necessarily just accept the native Shopify checkout is like your best way of doing things. So a few things on checkout optimization. One of 2 ways to go here. Well, you can do a combination of these 2. So actually using other checkout apps. I'm not, again, going to endorse any. I maybe will endorse CartHook a little bit. They're one of the apps that we said was an upsell app. They're also like, their whole thing is like, yeah, we take over in checkout, but we also just make your checkout better. So they do a 1-page checkout. Shopify natively, I keep referring to Shopify. That's where most of our clients are. A lot of e-commerce platforms, man, I got some crazy dogs right now. A lot of e-commerce platforms, they do a two-step checkout natively. So yeah, playing with a 1-step checkout with a tool like CartHook. Going to like a tool that is more like gives you more customization over a checkout. So like thinking about maybe running a product funnel on a tool like ClickFunnels or a SamCart or whatever, right? Where you can actually optimize and play with that checkout process. So that is one tip I have on checkout is just like play with 1-step versus 2-step. Play with don't ignore apps that actually can make your checkout more smooth and easy. I mean, again, a small win at that stage is pretty big in terms of revenue.
Right, and ClickFunnels is another one of those that has the 1-click upsell capability, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, I mean, it's a full-on landing page builder and funnel tool, and got its issues for sure. I'm not like a ClickFunnels fanboy by any means, but I use it. I do use it.
Right, it's true. And personality-wise, if somebody's made it this far into the video, I mean, I don't mind giving them a little tidbit about us. Something personality-wise about me versus John is I'm a natural floor watcher, and John is natural, like, reach for the stars, shoot the moon kind of dude, And I'll kind of speak to maybe floor watching this a little bit, the checkout optimization. Another app that I love and that we brought up earlier for kind of offer crafting for optimizing AOVs and stuff is Ultimate Special Offers. I do love that app. You can create offers that you can't create natively on Shopify. It is a good app. I believe in it. We use that too. It has its own problems, and part of it is the checkout. It does take over your Shopify checkout. It takes over that experience. Depending on the type of offer you create on there, again, I use it, but depending on the type of offer you create, it can be a little janky. It cannot be. Sometimes it's not ideal. Let's say, but that's again, it's just something to kind of take with a grain of salt. And still, maybe if your offer is perfect, if you set it up through that, maybe it's worth a 2-second delay to add a free product. Because I mean, how else do you add a free? Maybe you don't have a better way to add a free product, right. Or something like that. So, floor watcher in me feels like I have to throw that out there. I know this is about optimization, but part of optimization is avoiding potholes. So,
right. Well, part of optimization is floor watching, right? Because like anytime you're going to try and test something and make an optimization, there's a very real chance that it will perform worse than what you're already doing. So you have to cap your loss, right? Like you have to understand, like, okay, what am I looking for? How much traffic am I shaving off to test this? How much, like, what do I stand to lose if this is worse, right? So yeah, like that's a good part of it. So another point on checkout optimization is just playing with payment options. Like I think everybody's super bullish on just like adding every kind of payment option, like Apple Pay, Google Pay, everything. I mean, I'm not against it. I think it's fine. We have plenty of clients that have it all. I don't like just naturally accept the wisdom that it's actually better though either. So yeah, I mean, to me, I would probably test them like one at a time. Yeah, and then the last thing I'll say on checkout optimization is just like even just customizing the checkout page. So like making sure that you have like your guarantee on there, your yeah, your warranties, your guarantees on there. Making sure that like you can put scarcity elements on there, like if there's legitimate scarcity around your product, or I guess if there's not, up to you. Like, you know, your product is being saved, or this deal is being saved for this much time, like a countdown timer or whatever, or there's this many left of these, right? So you can do little things to like drive them to like really act now, or do things like answering frequently asked questions, stuff like that. So just adding elements like that in checkout.
Another thing to the payment options, you know, I know we've experienced things like with PayPal, you know, something looks great all the way up to the point of like paying, and then PayPal checkout doesn't allow people to actually qualify for a certain offer. You know, again, that can be a customer service nightmare. Better to know about that early and be able to battle that proactively than have to dig yourself out of a hole with the customer. And I mean, a lot of times we build businesses based off of like, you know, expected LTVs or lifetime values of customers. And I mean, if a customer has a bad experience with you on the first purchase, you can kiss that lifetime value goodbye. I mean, the lifetime value was that first conversion, or even zero because you just lost, they want a refund, you know? So.
Cool, yeah. And
it has to say stuff like this, you know?
Yes, yeah, I know. So I have something we actually hit on a little bit earlier, but like, let's just talk, like maybe get a little woo-woo here and say like, all right, optimizing ad dollars or optimizing profit from current ad dollars, we're getting a little bit more into like the lifetime value or the time period value, like getting people to buy quicker. And let's talk about things like just content channels. So like a blog, a YouTube channel, a Facebook group would be one of these. And then also just like, I'll loop this in here and I'll say like cadence, right? So to me, a lot of times like lifetime value is tied very directly to how often you offer people something for sale in like a way that they don't find douchey. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and especially if you're niche specific, like we have a golf brand we work with where it's like, man, the amount of revenue and lifetime value and everything that we can drive just by like having a cool new product really regularly every week is huge. I've mentioned a baby brand I work with before that has scaled like really crazy. Like the main thing that they're doing, and this is hard, it's hard for them to source all this product and make it really good product. The main thing that they're doing is like, they have these communities, they have this YouTube channel where they make like videos for moms, and like all of their customers go there and watch them. They have this Facebook group where like all of their customers just like talk about being a mom, you know, and they like, it's just everywhere. It's just like, you can tell that this like brand is just about mom, like it's for moms, it's for like moms with babies, moms with toddlers, right? Like it's just all about them. And then all they do is they just drop new collections every week. It's hard for them to source all that product. It is, but like really that's it. Like they acquire a customer, you know, and then they create this amazing community for them across all kinds of channels, blog, YouTube, Facebook group. They send them there when they, you know, after they're a customer, they send them there in their follow-up emails and all of this stuff. And then they just like drop regular products all the time and they tell people about it on those places. And then people come buy it. Like it's very simple when I say it like this, but like no brands are doing it, you know, no brands are doing what they're doing because like their average order value is like $80. Their average 2-month value of a customer is $160. An average customer has doubled their value in 2 months. That is unheard of, except in the subscription space, and even not in the subscription space. Most of your people won't stay on 2 months in the subscription space. So like they've got a subscription model business that's better than any subscription model business without the hassles of having to set up a subscription. So like, yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And that's maybe a whole other topic of can you increase your lifetime value by setting up a subscription. But that's, I mean, that's it. I think like community creation and just regular alongside meet community creation, offering people things to buy. Like, don't be afraid to make an offer.
And if you've built a business on this approach where this like omni-channel kind of regular new drops, kind of one of a kind, kind of boutique kind of type of business, you know, congratulations, more power to you. That's great. probably have a very bright future for your business, because like I said, you see things that break all traditional metrics a lot of times. But if you're watching this as more of a traditional e-commerce brand and you're like, hey, that sounds good to me too, I would love to do that, you know, I'll intentionally mix a metaphor here. So is it worth it to you to set up a YouTube channel and Facebook groups and all that stuff? I mean, typically, or the broad answer, I think over time is yes. Like the juice is probably worth the squeeze, right? But if you're really trying to juice those audience, to get all the, you know, like you said, like squeezing a rag or juicing an orange is what I think of. You're really trying to do that super hard. You know, you can also expect that with that finite audience, again, just like email or whatever, you know, if you're pushing super hard, you are seeing traction there. You can also expect a little bit of like fatigue after like a big sale or something, right? Like if you make a huge video, you know, or hit up your group, let's say your Facebook group, about a particular sale. You know, you mentioned you don't want that just to be some like selling mechanism all the time. It needs to be an organic kind of well thought out group that could stand alone, basically. But if you do hit up that group for a sale, you know, that's great. And maybe it blows up a huge sale. Don't expect that to happen every week unless you've built some kind of mechanism like a regular product drop or a regular sale that happens every, you know, that's not always going to happen. There's a finite amount of juice in that fruit too. So yes, the juice is worth the squeeze, but there's not always more juice available at any given moment. So just prepare for that. If you're like, I'm going to switch my whole business around and do regular product drops and I'm going to crush it. I'm going to break all these metrics, these traditional metrics. So
yeah, you got to feed the beast. You know what I mean? Like the brands that do really well with that are like feeding that ecosystem just as hard as they're hitting it up, right? So sometimes that means buying on a deeper customer value, right? So yeah, anyway, my house is going a little crazy here, so we could wrap up.
All right, yeah, man. I mean, hey, guys, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, get notifications for whenever we drop a new video. We're trying to put these out weekly now. It's kind of a newer channel, but anything you can do to interact with us, you know, we want to hear about it. We want to answer your questions, and ultimately, hey, that's going to help us grow organically on all platforms. So appreciate it. Anything you can do. John, why don't you go ahead and send us off with your parting shot, man?
Yeah, so actually I'm going to just hit on like something you just said. You gave me the parting shot. Yeah, figuring out if the juice is worth the squeeze on any of this, like I think we kind of went in order, really. You know what I mean? Like we kind of went in order of like the quickest wins versus like the most long-term wins. That deep stuff of like building community, having regular offers, that kind of stuff, that's like a really moat building thing, right? Like that's like digging a big wide moat around your brand and making it kind of bulletproof, right? And that's great. But like your quicker wins are definitely available in landing page testing and landing environment testing, CRO, stuff like that. So we kind of went in order, I think, you know. So if you're kind of looking for a guide and you like figure out where you already are on the journey that we just went through, and that's probably like where your next step is.